Hello and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with really cool people about super interesting topics to spark and inspire and motivate personal and professional change. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Beth Slazak of the Creative Education Foundation. And Beth trains people every day to solve problems better and faster. So this is why we have this really cool topic. Our topic is leveraging your natural problem-solving abilities. And this conversation is worth your while if you would love to solve problems better, faster, smarter, while leveraging what's natural to you. And we're going to talk about the 4 aspects of problem solving. We're going to give you 2 tools for discovering your natural preferences, instincts, and talents. And we're going to chat about what to do when you find yourself outside of your natural way of doing things. So, hi, Beth. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm excellent. So if you could just real quickly, give me your power statement. What do you do? Who do you serve?
What do I serve? That's like kind of a joke we have at work. We are helpful to people who have problems. So if you don't have problems, I don't have anything for you. Also, I'd like to talk to you about that because I'm interested in how you don't have problems.
I know, that's fascinating. Yeah. Well, it's really problems. By problems, we mean challenges. Right? And we all have challenges in all different aspects of our lives. We have our own personal challenges. We have the things we know when we can't get out of our own way. And we also have challenges when it comes to relationships, when it comes to our career, when it comes to your neighbors, when it comes to even discovering, what you want. Like sometimes we don't even know what we want in life. So we're constantly in problem solving mode. And I remember you said to me when I first met you, you said that people don't naturally try to solve problems. They try to solve symptoms. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. And that's what I see a lot of times. If you're solving the same problem over and over again, you're not solving the problem. You might be solving a symptom. So like I get headaches all the time. I take Tylenol, that fixes my headache. But if I went to the eye doctor and got new glasses, that would actually fix my headache. So we see a lot of like not getting to the root of what the actual problem is. And you're dealing with the results of the problem. So spending a little time on the front end, really clarifying what the problem is, helps you get to a more real solution.
So clarifying that, if I'm correct, is the first aspect of problem solving, because there's 4 aspects you're sharing with me. So clarifying, what do you mean by that?
So there are 4 aspects of problem solving, and we do, if you're a functioning adult, you do all 4 of them. But there's some that you're like, yes, I'm here for it. And there's others you're like, ooh, slide out of frame. I don't want to do this part. So you'll skip over it, or like kind of give it like half the attention it needs. So clarifying is the very start. And that's like asking questions, asking the right questions. And a lot of times when we're teaching people to clarify better, it's simply taking the statements around that challenge and turning it into questions, because you want to get information. Like dig deep into your inner 2-year-old and ask why. One of my favorite things to tell people is to turn statements into questions. You just have to add on how to, or what might be all of the ways. So, and we just, the statement starters, and they're super easy. So it's end of January now. My daughter's getting married in September, and I wanted New Year's resolution. It's new. It's never had this one, to lose weight. And a lot of times that's, I'll say that, like I want to lose weight. And basically that's just somewhere between a statement and a complaint. It's a little whine. But if I turn it into what might be all of the ways I could lose weight, or what might be all the ways I could eat healthier, or what might be all of the ways I could get more exercise, that puts me in a position of forward momentum, because those kinds of questions lead to answers rather than just a statement that's like, yep, that's that.
You
But
know,
if I trigger that, like, what might be all the ways I could get more exercise? Well, then now I bet right away you've got like 4 different ideas that you can share with me right now.
right. Oh, I love that. You know, what might be all the ways, because what it does is it starts giving you options that then you can weigh against what feels right to you. So what are all the ways I could lose weight? I could run a marathon. Not doing that, but I could run a marathon. That would probably, all the training for it would probably, you know, get me my result, right? Yeah, interesting. Okay, fascinating. What do you do after you clarify?
After you clarify, then you need to come up with ideas. And when I say that, people are like, oh, I'll list 3 ideas. I mean, bless you, that is not enough. I was just listening to originals because I am an Audible addict. It's fine. It's not a problem because it doesn't hurt anybody else. And I was very happy because it was like nailing home things that I say all the time. When you are coming up with ideas to deal with challenges, you want more, because inside of quantity lies quality. Your first idea is probably not your best. And if you think about it, that first person you dated is probably not the life partner you want to have. Like, you know, you gotta check some options out. So ideas, the first third we think of are things that we've already thought of before. You've thought of that. The second third are things that if you haven't thought of, like, they're out there and other people have. And then you get to that last third, like that's when you're really kind of desperation mode and innovation are very close together. So you want to come up with 100 ideas.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like you want to be to the point where it's kind of painful, so you're just writing down anything, because it is easier to take a crazy kookaloo idea and like tweak it and work it into something elegant. It's far easier to do that than it is to take that same old rut idea that you have fallen into and try and boost yourself out of. Right. Because living in a rut, there is a strong gravitational pull that brings you down, and you really, it's hard to get out of that. So just try to avoid the rut.
Yeah.
Stay on the top.
I have a tool that I learned that is so much fun. And when my clients are stuck and they can't come up with ideas, I use this tool, and it's called the illegal immoral tool. And so they're trying to solve their problem. And I say, I need you to give me 10 illegal and or immoral solutions to this problem. You know, so they're coming up with like, say they need more money, prostitution, I could sell drugs, I could rob a bank, I could borrow money and never pay it back, you know, like coming up with all these things. And what it's doing is it's really loosening their thinking, because they're not allowed to think inside the box at all. It's totally outside. But then the magic of the tool is after they're done with their 10, and if they get stuck at 8, I'm like, keep going, right? We're going to get to 10. When they have the 10 illegal, immoral ideas, then one by one, I go back through and help them to find the legal/moral counterpart of that idea. Right. And it's amazing for problem solving. So it's a kind of a fun way, I guess, if you can't get to your 100, if you're only at 90, like, oh, use Linda's, what Linda shared with you, this illegal immoral tool, which I learned from Martha Beck. It's not my own tool. And it's super fun and it works, but it's really fun because sometimes problem solving is not fun, you know, so this makes it fun. So, yeah. So what do you do once you got all these excellent ideas? and not so excellent ideas.
The best and the worst. We'll gather them all. Then, so people think, and you see this in the business world a lot, like your idea has to be perfect. Ideas are not born perfect.
No.
Ideas, they're sweet little saplings. They're very easy to step on and scrunch. And so you need to take that little idea sapling. I think of it as like a Dr. Seuss character, like something very little and weird with lots of feathers. And you need to start feeding it. And how you do is you work at developing it, finding, like curating that solution. One thing that we use all the time, it's called PPCO, which makes no sense to anybody else, but it's pluses, potentials, concerns, and how to overcome those concerns. So first you've got to list like, what's great? What do I really like about this idea? What gets you jazzed? Because like you said, dealing with challenges can sometimes be emotionally draining or emotionally hijacking. And you're like, so you have to like have that mental investment in it.
Right.
You got to know why you're fighting for it.
Right.
Then you want to list the potentials, because what can happen, that changes the trajectory. And you want to be able to see that so that you can provide for that and see that there's future in this. Then you've got to look at the challenges. What are the concerns? However, I'm going to tell you to phrase these also. Phrase concerns like questions, because questions have answers. And you don't want to go back to that like whining, complaining thing. So right. Instead of this is expensive, it's what might be all the ways we can make this budget neutral, or how to afford this? What might be all of the ways that I can adjust my budget for this? Like, just because those lead to answers.
Right.
And once you've got your concerns phrased as questions, then you work on overcoming those concerns. And then you've got a nice idea. It's developed, it's becoming a thing.
Beautiful.
And after you clarify, after you ideate, after you develop, then you got to do it.
That's number 4. Do it.
Yeah. 4, do it. Implement your plan. Like figure out what are all of the steps. Break it down into steps. You can't, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Mm-hmm. Break your plan down into steps. Then order those in time. Mm-hmm. The biggest tip, hack, I don't know, is the first one should be something you can do in 24 hours.
Yeah. You
got it. The hardest part about running a marathon is putting your sneakers on. So you got to but you're out what your sneakers are, put your sneakers on. Right. And then who's going to do it? Because sometimes it's got to be your challenge, but sometimes you can't do all of the steps. So you might need to get some assisters, people buy in, and then assign a loving nag accountability partner.
Right.
All right. So you know what? Hey, Linda, I'm going to do this. Will you set a date in a month to call me and ask me if I've done it?
Yeah.
And then that's how you get stuff done. And that's the whole process.
That's really true. Accountability, it's really easy to just, if we're like, I'm my own boss, right? So it's very easy for me to go, hey, can I have the day off? Okay, sure. You're a really good employee. Have the day off, right? We're not very accountable to ourselves. Some people are. My significant other, if he says he's going to do it, it's happening. No, I mean, seriously, hell or high water. High water. He was up to his thighs in a swamp the other day to finish the Western New York hiking challenge because he's like, I'm going to finish it. I'm like, I'm not going out in that. He said, I'm going to finish it. So that's really hell or high water. He was in the high water, but that's not me, and that's not most people. But on the other hand, if I say I'm going to do something and promise it to someone else versus promising it to myself, it's going to get done. And so an accountability partner, like that's like in my world as a coach, that's built in when you have a coach versus when you're just listening. Like people are going to be listening to this fabulous conversation that we're having, and they're going to be learning, right? But they have no one to be accountable to, right? So when you work with someone, you have an accountability partner, or like you said, ask a friend, ask somebody. That is a much better way to move towards success. So yeah. So awesome. All right, let's move on because we promised people two more things. Well, first is like, what if they don't know what's natural to them? And so, I remember getting confused with what's natural versus my skill set, because the skill set is learned. It's not natural, right? And when I started to really become more introspective and exercise that emotional intelligence and say, okay, I gotta think about me, learn about me, how am I approaching things? Who am I, right? So that is really the beginning of your very best life, is really discovering who you are and what you want. And one of the paths to that is by asking yourself what's natural, right? And sometimes it's hard to discover. So there's a couple tools. I'll talk about one, and you can mention one as well, that people can use to say, okay, well, what is natural to me? Because do not be confused. It is not your learned skill set. It is not the knowledge that you've amassed. It's something that's natural. So what kind of tools would you say?
So the big one that we use all the time is foresight, and it's FOURSIGHT. You can go on foresight.com and take the assessment yourself. I think it's like maybe $30, and it looks at which of those four preferences you are strong in. We do all of them. If you're functioning, you do all of them. And one way I like to talk to demonstrate it is, I'm going to ask you to do something. It's easy. And anybody listening, definitely do this. Grasp your hands in front of you. Okay. Look down. You don't have to say it out loud. It doesn't, because it doesn't matter, but just notice which thumb is on top. Okay. So right or left. Take your hands apart, shake them out. Now reclasp them with the other hand, with the other thumb on top.
Yeah, that feels weird.
It feels weird. That's how you know when you're working out of preference. It feels weird, but you did it.
Right.
You can do it. It just, sometimes your reaction is, it gives me chills. So, it's kind of easy to figure out in general. Also, it's easy to figure out like family members or coworkers, because clarifiers, they ask all the questions, all of the questions. Previous life, I was a middle school teacher, and you could tell the clarifier students when I would say, take out a piece of paper and put your name on it. Teachers right now are saying that. That is a universal thing. The clarifier in the classroom, do you want my first name or my first name and my last name? Do you want it on the top of the page or on the bottom of the page? Do you want just my name? Do you want my name and my date? Or do you want the whole heading? I want to know whose work this is so that I can enter it into the appropriate line in my grade book. But clarifiers need a lot of information before they feel comfortable moving forward. So I think of it as like anxiety, because they're just, well, what about this? But what about this? Have you considered that? So they can drive you crazy, but they also make sure that information is out there and shared, and that, everybody knows when the due date is, how many pages it needs to be, where it should happen. Like, they find out that information. So if you're that person, you're like, oh, Well, that sounds like me. That's awesome. Like each preference is fantastic and we need all four of them. And we tend to have like a gravitation of a couple.
Yeah. Like I would say, I've always called myself an idea factory. That's just what I labeled myself because there's no shortage of ideas up here.
Yeah.
When it comes to do the plan, that is not my thing. I can make the plan. I'm pretty good at that. But do the plan. Now I want someone else to do it. I think of it like, say we're going to build a big giant, home, right? I'm interested in being the architect. Like, ooh, the ceiling, that could be this height. Ooh, this could face the light over here. Ooh, we could do this. We can do that, right? But I don't want to pick up any hammers. Like, I'm not interested in picking up any hammers and building it. However, when someone's building it, if they go, you know what, this isn't really going to work, I can be like, oh, how about if we move that wall 5 inches that way? The problem solving is very natural to me. The ideas are very natural to me. So I get that. And that brings me to like the Colby Index is another tool where you can find your natural way of doing things and aligning your tasks. So it's kind of like your modus operandi. What's your natural way of doing things? So I remember when I first took the Colby Index, the way it was explained to me, and this goes for whether you're talking about how you're doing your problem solving, or if it's the Colby Index, it's really about natural proclivities in general. So it was explained to me in this like little story. Say there was going to be a race, and in the race was a cheetah, a squirrel, an otter, and a mole. Who is going to win the race? Well, people naturally say the cheetah. Yeah, if it's on land, what if the race is underwater? Oh, then I'm going with the otter. What if it's underground? I'm going with the mole. What if it's up a tree? I'm going with the squirrel, right? So there's no right or wrong. There's no best animal on that team. And what it shows you is that your natural proclivities are beautiful for when your environment calls for those problem solving abilities or that natural tendency. And because not everything does, the best thing to do is to surround yourself with your conative complements, right? With your problem solving complementary people. So for me, I need someone, I need an implementer. Like I'm like CEO material. I need the controller to be managing that the strategy is being done by people who want to pick up that hammer, who's not me, right? So it's really important to know your proclivities, and that's why we use tools like that. Okay, so let's move on to our final subtopic, which is what happens when you're outside of your natural preferences and abilities? What do? You find yourself there like, oh, this is not natural. I don't want my thumb like this. What do?
Right thumbs on top. For us, we teach people to use tools. We just moved, and so there's picture hanging involved. We was on a call recently. We were talking about like what are the most Buffalo, New York pronounced words, and I'm like, picture. You can pour liquid or you can hang it on a wall. Picture. But picture hanging is involved. It's super easy. You just need some tools. So, as wildly talented as I am, I cannot push a nail into my wood wall. It's the new wall has it's a log cabin. I can't do that. And I can want it. I can think about it. I can know the physics, but I cannot do it. And the answer is super, super easy. Get a hammer and, bam, bam, bam. It's beautiful. So using a tool when you're out of preference is super easy. So things like you're not a clarifier. You know what? In 4th grade, you studied journalism and you learned who, what, when, where, why, and how. Pull those bad boys out and start asking yourself questions. You're not an ideator. So you and I, like all the thousands of ideas. You know what we can do? Fun fact, you'll know in your friend group who the ideator is because they're the crazy ones who like, let's go ice skating.
Yeah.
But if that's not you, and that is fine, you can use that's when people use brainstorming, it's probably the most commonly known tool for that. Right. And just start, coming up with lots of ideas. Another one that I tell people is to get an image and try and connect potential solutions from that image. So like if you're looking at a forest, like, okay, so I see trees, I see green, I see sky. You're like, okay, so what might be all the ideas? What might be all the ideas you get for your problem? If you think about nature, if you think about bird sounds, and it sounds really kind of like hoo-loo-loo-loo, but it is fantastic the way it triggers different ideas.
I have a similar tool to that too, where I have my clients, frame their problem into a statement, okay. So I'm trying to discover how to XYZ. Okay. Then they have to watch a funny animal video where some animal can't do something, right? Like I was watching this one where these baby bears were trying to get on a hammock, and every time they did it, the hammock would flip over and dump them off. Their mother was just laying nearby, with their belly up, just like, whatever, guys, just play. I'm taking a nap, like every mother ever, anywhere, right? And they are trying, and they keep flipping. And what do you want to tell these baby bears to do? Like, and what I want to tell them to do is help each other out. Someone can hold it. One of you guys could put your paws up and it'll stop rocking. And then the other guy, you could jump on there, and, so just like my solution at the, I say it's teamwork, and you need help. You can't do this by yourself. Right. Then back to my problem. Oh, I need teamwork. I can't do this by myself. So funny animal videos are really great for getting outside, because it's hard to solve a problem when it's yours sometimes, but it's real easy. You could see exactly what someone else should do, right? Or what those little bears should do. So that's like a really fun tool. So I love that you're bringing up tools. And plus even that, the illegal immoral tool, that's a tool. So tools, beautiful, very beautiful.
And like using humor is like, there's science. You can Google Scholar it. Stephen Saltanoff has done a lot of work out in California on that. Using humor triggers different aspects of your brain to think about that, and coming up with ideas for somebody else's or a problem like the baby bear cubs. It helps you trigger more ideas for your challenge. Yeah. Those are all that's all scientists. It deals with cognitive bias and stuff. It's fantastic ways to trigger better and more ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Now, sometimes the tools need to be, not everything is within our natural proclivity, right? So what are we doing? One of the tools that I like to share with clients, or when I'm a speaker, I like to share this with people, is something called the 3 Bs. And it's bag it, barter it, or better it. So the first question to ask when you got something you got to do, and it's just not feeling natural, right, is, can I bag it? Can I just does it really have to be done? What's the terrible thing? Is my hair going to catch on fire if I don't do it? What's going to happen, right? And if you can bag it, you're done. Beautiful. If you can't bag it, if something really needs to be done, can you barter it? This is where the complementary skills come in, where you're finding someone who can do this thing that is not natural for you, that you really don't want to do. It's not natural. You're not so great at it, mostly because you don't want to do it. You could probably be good at it, because we could really be good at almost anything if we want to, but you can barter it, and barter doesn't have to mean money. Sometimes it's just a favor, or just an exchange of something like, hey, listen, I don't mind doing this thing. You hate doing that thing. And how about I do this for you and you do that for me? They're like, oh my God, that would be beautiful. Right. And then the last B is better it. So what if no one else can do it? And I have a quick little story that I have regarding bettering it. So I was filling out a financial aid form when my son used to go to a private school for 6th or 7th grade. He was having big issues in the public school. So I had to move him. The other kids were fine in the public school, but I had to move him because, natural, what's natural? This public school was not fitting him at all. So I moved him, and the tuition was astounding. It was like a college tuition. I was like, oh my God, So I'm filling out this financial aid form. And as I'm filling it out, I realize I've got a lot of information, a lot of different places. I can't do the 1040 easy on my taxes because there's a lot of other stuff. So the filling out financial aid forms is just like doing your taxes. Basically, you're like, oh my God, what's this? What's that? It's asking for all sorts of stuff. And this thing has taken me like 6 hours to do. During the 6 hours, I'm doing it on a Saturday. Of course, the son I'm doing it on behalf of is a pain in the butt that day, arguing with his siblings. And I'm like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And I'm angry with him, short with him, because in my mind, I'm doing this for him, but I'm really doing it for me. So I can, but I'm also doing it for him. You know what I mean? And can I bag it? I could, but I choose not to, because that tuition is just really unaffordable if I don't get financial aid, right? Can I barter it? No one else knows all this information that I've got to dig up in the depths and bowels of my file cabinets, like no one else knows that. I got to go get it. So how can I make it better? How can I better it? And I thought about it. And the year before, when I had done this 6-hour task, right? I did get some financial aid. I think I got about $6,000 worth of financial aid. So I sat there and I thought about it. And I said, how can I make this feel better? And I said, 6 hours, $6,000 savings. I'm making $1,000 an hour. Woo! And everything changed. First of all, I threw that out on Facebook because you have to declare when you make a mindset change that is helpful to you. So make a declaration. I did it. I'm like, I'm making $6,000 an hour. Ask me how, right? And it was really by bettering it, using that last B of that tool. And then I was nicer to my son. I didn't feel like such a chore. I was like, 1 hour down, $1,000, cha-ching, So this is a beautiful tool for when you don't know like what your natural preferences and abilities are, or you're like outside of them, actually. Yeah, more outside of them. What can you do? Bag it. If you can't bag it, can you barter it? If you can't barter it, how can you better it? And there's that frame like a question again. So that's kind of a fun tool. Do you have any other things that you could say about when you're outside of your natural preferences and abilities?
The one thing that I was thinking about is funny that you had the 3 Bs, because I have the 3 Is.
Ooh, the 3 Is.
The 3 Is. When you're looking at your problems, do you have the interest in it? Are you willing to do all of the work? So like that, your son, you're like, yeah, I am really invested in this. I've got that interest. I need to deal with it. The second is imagination. Does it, if it's the leftovers are sitting out on the kitchen table, you really don't need to solve for that. You know what you need to do. You need to put them away. But you dealing with other challenges that are a little more nuanced or complicated, it's going to require some imagination. And then the last is, and I'm like blinking on what the I is for, because it's ownership. I guess it's
That's not the 3 Is. It's 2 Is and an O.
Yeah, what's I can't remember. I'm like complete brain poof on that. But it's maybe it's investment, but it's, do I own that? Is it my challenge, or am I trying to solve somebody else's problem? And you can work to maybe take over ownership of it. But if it's, like my kids are driving me nuts or my husband's driving me nuts, the only thing that you can change there is you.
Yes.
You influence. Influence.
Influence.
I remembered it.
Oh, good. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Wow. Well, Beth, I think we have given our audience so much to ponder and so many worthwhile tools to try. And so I want to thank you for being on Conversations Worth Your While. And as far as our topic and using your natural abilities to solve your challenges, do you have anything that you would like to share with our audience, some way that you can help them do this further?
If you want to learn more about this, taking a deeper dive, we run the Creative Problem Solving Institute, CPSI, or SIPSI. It's in Buffalo in June. It's this year it's going to be at the Niagara University, and you can check www.cpsiconference.com. Registration will be opening soon, and it's open to anybody who wants to register and attend. And it's fantastic. It's like 4 days of great learning, great meeting people, great like thought explosions, really. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Beautiful. So whether you want to do this for yourself and your personal life in your career, or if maybe you run a team at work and you want to learn some tools that you can then bring back to your company so your company can be more successful, this would be a benefit to them. So great. In the description below, I will put a link to that page for people to check out that conference, and also I'll put your contact information. And everybody, I am Linda Bucher, and my gift is synthesizing wisdom and knowledge and making a soul connection with my clients. And I love helping people to get clear, to lighten their load, to nurture their passions, and so that they can unleash their gifts on the world. So if you're watching this, please open the description where you'll find how to contact each of us and free tools that we both have for you, because I will put something in there as well. And so once again, thank you so much, Beth, and thank you, our audience, for sharing your time with us today. And until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited. Thank you.